So we've got Nathan Farrugia. Now Nathan is a personality in his own right, and obviously I'm sure everybody here knows him. You're not going to give me a hard time because I know that all you need to do is start talking. You've got a wonderful story. What I'd like to know is, why do you do it? You push yourself not just to achieve, but to achieve more than most other people do. Even in the Ironman, you're in the top 10% of Ironman results. Why do you do it? Tell me the story.
Well, when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with asthma. And I was told that I couldn't do things kids of my age would like to do, which is run around, climb trees, and play games. So I always had this situation where people were telling me what I can't do. So I was an energetic child, very much like Douglas, and I wanted to play, and I wanted to do stuff, but I felt that they had these limitations. So I always wanted to push those limitations, push those boundaries. And I think it became the way I was, the way I am, where if I look at something that I'm somehow being told I can't do, I'm going to try.
Yes, but you must have worried your parents a great deal.
Yes.
Weren't you surrounded by people telling you, well, no, actually, you shouldn't, don't do this.
All the
Stay
time.
in the comfort zone, stay
Yes.
safe.
But that's it. I mean, and you know, life starts at the edge of the comfort zone. You start to experience, you start to grow when you go out of that comfort zone. And for me, it was a curiosity of knowing what that space feels like. So when people ask me, why do you go and run, you know, 100-milers or run around mountains or things like that, for me, it's more about curiosity, to know what that might feel like, rather than the sense of achievement of doing it. So again, it's all about the process of getting to that point to actually look back and say, oh, okay, so that's what it's like. And that's why I try and do as many different types of sports and different types of adventures as possible, because it's the curiosity.
So carry on with the story. So as you're growing up, you already had started pushing these boundaries.
Yeah, so I got into sports. I took basketball up as my favorite because it was indoors, less dust, so less triggers for the asthma. And I became quite decent, and I started playing and also earning some money from the game. So I thought, maybe this could be a career. I could be a professional basketball player. I unfortunately tore my knees up in an incident when I was in my mid-20s, so that sort of throttled the idea of becoming a professional player. I had just started a degree at university, and I sort of started to focus a little bit more on my studies, but I was always intrigued to see if I could get back into the game, so I did some intense rehab. Obviously, I was doing a physiotherapy degree that helped.
Exactly, does that help? Because you
helped me understand
your own,
what the problem was. So I did get back into the game, and you know, right back where I was before in the national team. And I tore my cruciate a second time. And that was sort of the final straw. My knee was completely busted. And I took up running, cycling, and swimming as my rehab. And you know, if you put those three together, you get a sport, which is triathlon. So I signed up for an Ironman, which I Googled as some tough adventure worth trying that people were doing. And I did that, and I really enjoyed it. And I said, there's something here, in that I seem to have this resilience to be able to keep going. I'm not fast, and I could never be an Olympian or anything like that, but I'm a diesel engine, and I can keep going. So, you know, it's an Aesop's fables, tortoise and the hare. I'm the tortoise, but I'll get there eventually. So I did find that I had this mental capacity to push myself beyond when my body was saying stop, which allowed me to start exploring sort of some of the extreme challenges that there are out there. So, you know, going back onto Google and saying what's tougher than an Ironman, and you get Marathon des Sables, which is where me and Douglas ran 250 kilometers in the desert. The next year, I ran the 27 marathons in 27 days in 27 countries, which set a world record to the first person to do so many countries back to back. And again, you know, it was all about the curiosity of, can it be done? Most likely because most people were saying it can't. The traveling in itself was extremely difficult. But we have so much ability in ourselves that we keep untapped. Our potential as human beings is so huge, and we just don't use it. And
that's really dangerous, Nathan, because there must be a point at which you strike me as being someone that if you actually got to the end, where normal people or even abnormal people would stop, you would push yourself even further. Isn't that actually quite dangerous?
I think it can be, and I think this is why you need to make sure that it's the mental side of things that you have to take care of most. You know, the body can do far more than we think it can. We're designed to run marathons every day because when we were hunter-gatherers, we had to do that to get our dinner. So, you know, genetically, we are gifted to be able to do these things. It's the brain that sort of either allows it or doesn't. And I think when you're really pushing the extreme, to have the compos mentis to actually say, okay, this is too far, I need to stop now, is very important. And, you know, Douglas was talking about the people that died on Everest. Those are people maybe that don't have that ability to actually say, okay, this is as far as I should go, I need to turn back. But the ego and the ambition to get to the top sometimes is what kills you. And that's not just mountains. It's business ruin. It's, you know, it's relationships and marriages. This balance of understanding where our limits are and how to push them and nudge them in short bits to be able to grow our comfort zone that way is important. But it has to be through experience. If we don't go out there and don't stretch, we're never going to know where our limit lies. So this is, you know, this is what I do in my business. This is what I do in my sports. It's a sense of adventure in everything you do, not just the adventures themselves that are described so.
What's next?
Well, I think growing the business is my main priority at the moment.
You just did a huge big site. I mean, the back-to-back marathons were not the last big adventure you've had. You've had a few since then. I remember talking about it the last time we were on a program together.
Yes, I think the last one was the run across Corsica, swim to Sardinia and cycle across Sardinia.
Okay.
That was interesting because that was the first time I think I really felt that I had hit a limit. The idea was to run the length of Corsica, which is about 200 kilometers, jump into the sea and swim to Sardinia, which is 16, and then cycle the length of Sardinia, which is 450 kilometers. And the idea, my plan was to try and do it non-stop, because I was curious about the sleep deprivation side of things. The reality is I got very, very sick at about 160K on the run. I ended up in hospital because I was dehydrated. And sort of, you know, when they took the panel of blood to see what was wrong, the doctor came in with a white face and said, you know what, I've only ever seen these numbers in someone who's either dead or in a coma.
Okay.
And sort of that was really where I had pushed my body to the real edge. The thing is that as soon as I got hydrated again, I was up and I was off. So I finished the challenge.
Did it.
But, you know, that sort of gave me a bit of a glimpse of where the limits might lie. But again, you know, was it mismanagement from my perspective of not getting enough hydration, maybe not enough training, I don't know. Apart
from all your achievements as an athlete, you've also done an awful lot through Inspire. First as CEO, when a very important part of its history, when a lot of challenges, infrastructural projects and so on were all sort of coming together and so on. And you still obviously do a lot of work now and raise money as well through your challenges. Does working with people who have obstacles to overcome like that, does that also help you?
Absolutely. I have a strong sense of justice, so I think, you know, when I see things that are not right, I want to try and fix them. I got involved in the charity world way back as a volunteer with Razzat Al-Biberia in 2000, and eventually quit the corporate job to go and work there, and built it up over years. In 2010, I was asked to help run the Eden Foundation. But at the time, it was a no-brainer to join the two together, so I merged two of Malta's main charities into what is now the largest non-profit organization in the country. And I think the most important thing for me was the fact that we had a purpose that was to make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities. And once you have that purpose, and it's very, very clear, and you hear this from other speakers, if the purpose is so strong, then you just break through walls. You do what you have to do to make sure you get the result. But it was a huge learning curve for me from a leadership perspective to actually go through that whole process of building teams, choosing the right people, realizing you make mistakes, you sort them out, you fix them, but also having the right support around you for people who believe in the same purpose. And when you have that, you get critical mass to really move forwards. And I think this is where, you know, organizations that are successful are the ones that manage to get the purpose across to every single person within that organization. And then you have momentum. So I think, you know, leadership is really about understanding how you can translate what your purpose is to the rest of the team.
You're now bringing a lot of the lessons that you've learned from both the athletic side, the corporate side, and so on, together in your new company, Ultimate Performance. This isn't a plug for your company. It is purely and simply because I know what you do. And what you're doing is actually inspiring people. You describe yourself as an academy for chief executives, and chief executives are people who know it all. Why would they want to come and learn anything? Why would they want to come and learn? What do you teach them?
I think I don't teach. The idea is, as I said before, everybody has untapped potential. So for me, sometimes it's just about going through a coaching process and asking the awkward questions into why you're not using your full ability. And sometimes it's just switching off the self-limiting belief that is what stops us from achieving our fullest potential. And through coaching, you can really get into nuts and bolts of how that person thinks at whatever level. I mean, yes, the Academy of Chief Executives is specific to that group of people, C-suite, but I also work with more junior executives and entrepreneurs who often don't succeed or are stuck simply because of what's between their two ears. Nothing to do with resources, nothing to do with financial backing, nothing to do with technical ability. It's just their self-limiting belief that's stopping them. And if you can flip that switch, then these people can reach greatness. And it's already there, you know. So you're not really teaching them, you're just unlocking them. And for me, that is, you know, a feeling of going home and having had a good day is getting some of those aha moments with the people I'm working with, where you can see in their eyes that they've clicked, you know, okay, all right, okay, now I know what I have to do. And so that's, you know, the greatness of being, the great feeling of being in that environment where you can facilitate that, for me, is what wakes me up in the morning and gets me going.
I hope you guys are taking notes, because I think that's this self-limiting belief is quite amazing, because it's really very often our own lack of confidence, our own fear of failure,
yes,
which stops us.